Good morning, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon. How are y'all doing? It is breezy here. Whew. Hopefully. Hi, everybody. Oh, here she is. Let me get you on. Connecting. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Same. It's a little bit, wow, I've got a baby here breastfeeding and hanging out because it is just
Oh,
like, I did a music video that went from 12:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon.
oh,
And then, of course, that next night, Lucy was just like, no.
no.
I don't feel like sleeping through. Sounds like
Oh,
you had a similar situation.
I did. My sister had to have a procedure, so I'm in charge of my niece, and she is regressing and decided to cry in her sleep all night long.
Oh, yeah.
And it was wonderful. And now
Yeah.
she is asleep, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
exactly.
I was like, Renee, let me know if she wakes up. Come on, get
Yeah.
me. So I'm
Aw.
outside so that she doesn't hear. Plus, it's awesome Bay Area weather right now, so
Oh,
I'm
so
like
nice.
trying to soak it all in
Oh, I
before I.
miss it. It is like humid here in Nashville. It's getting better, but
I know.
I'm
I keep telling people, besides the pandemic, I'm like, I'll come back, in the full fall. I'm like, I'm just gonna skip Nashville summer this year. I'm just
yeah,
skipping it.
I think it's a
I'm
good move.
I'm enjoying Bay Area. It's like very like foggy and it's very San Francisco vibes
Yeah.
out here. And I'm like, this is nice. I went on
Yeah.
a walk. It's like this is excellent.
Aw.
So I'm so glad that I'm glad that they're both not screaming.
Yeah.
So that we can
Currently not
have
screaming.
a conversation, which I am happy that you were able to make some time to continue our conversation because I feel like they are so necessary and rewarding
Mm-hmm.
um, for us to continue talking about the progress or the lack thereof progress of what's going on in our country and kind of looking back historically about what has not been done. And one of the big things I feel, and I know you have opinions on this as well, is that there hasn't been a lot of apologies, or America hasn't done a lot to say what they did wrong to minorities. And
Uh-huh.
maybe that's because they're still doing it in different ways. And I think the conversation of reparations is so important because I think until you admit fault and make amends for what you have done, you can't heal from what you have done.
Mm-hmm. And the longer that it takes, I feel like the more difficult it is. Like, besides the effects of like generations that are,
Mm-hmm.
not having the same wealth and opportunities, and then on top of it, it's like you're getting farther removed, so you feel like the problem's over,
Yeah.
and so it's, yeah, it is, it's something that feels like kind of, straightforward to me, but I know different people have different ideas about um, what that means. But it's we've done it in other, it's happened in the world in other countries, and
It,
it's happened in this country.
it
Um,
has.
so it seems, reparations seems like, I feel like at this point, like currently, how like every day you kind of just flip between
Yeah.
all the different things. And right now I'm just like, what is it that we all agree on? And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like we all agree on um, the the career politicians and what they're getting paid and how
Mm-hmm.
they are making careers out of policies that really affect our lives. Like, I just think all of us are over that.
Yes.
The way that's going down. And of course, these people are not going to, it doesn't seem like they have our best interests in mind, any of them. So it's pandemic. We got time.
Well,
people are reading up.
It was interesting because my dad had said something to me, and, you know, he's 72, and he was like, well, there's no reason to talk about reparations or anything because it's just never going to happen. And I was like, no, now's the time to talk about all these things that we feel like are never going to happen because we have the time to talk about them. We have the eyes open to see. The pandemic was in that way a blessing, that it has paused us, and we can see like, oh yeah, no, these people aren't helping us, and they aren't helping my future if they aren't even acknowledging my past. And the longer, like how you said, the longer it goes on, the harder it is to apologize. And then the more things in our society are created based on the brokenness, like crime, all of these things. People go, well, when is crime going to stop in like the inner cities? I'm like, well, when are we going to put education as a priority? And not have food deserts? Like, when are we?
What kind of education? Like, what are we teaching kids? Like what you're saying, like so many people, me included, a lot of people are just like, wow, I didn't learn any of that. I didn't learn any of that in school. So now everyone's having to do like a second round of figuring it all out. Can I tell you, I heard some semi good news that I thought was interesting, that apparently like the patent offices and the patent lawyers are like swamped because so many people, they're like ideas for ways that things could be better, and new things that they, you know, either they've had to pivot because their job evaporated, or they finally have the time to put into that crazy idea. And I love that. I feel like just as Americans, we're such a little, you know, creative. We have all this ingenuity, and, you know, we're competitive and, you know, like go-getters in like the whole sense of it. And I like that, knowing that it's like, oh yeah, there is this burst of, you know, as things are starting to end, or we're starting to see things that no longer serve us, there's also this burst forward of things that are new, and looking at things from this new perspective, and how can we move forward. And like, I just like hearing that. And I love like, okay, what is his name? That's my fave guy that has, Andrew Yang, and he has the like, let's get paid for our data. As you're like, all these companies, these huge companies like Facebook and Instagram and everybody, they are using our data, and we're not getting paid for it. Like, why don't we get paid for it? That's our property, you know? And it's like, why are we getting paid for it? Like,
it's like, what a concept. What a concept. It's like the box that we thought we all had to be in. We don't. We don't have to be in that. We can think outside of the box. And I think that makes some people uncomfortable. It makes some politicians uncomfortable because they like the box, and the box has worked a certain way, so it's predictable. But also, it's not serving us anymore. Like even me, like I'm like, it started this, and I've been doing so many things that I wasn't doing before the pandemic. Like I'm doing a lot of things in Nashville, and I'm not even in Nashville. Like,
congrats, by the way, on the John Tucker, the song you have with him.
Oh yes, I love.
So exciting,
John Tucker. Yeah, John Tucker healed my heart. If nobody's listened to John Tucker, you should. He's
so good.
One of my favorite things about Nashville.
I know. I feel like there's a great, and there are like in other good news, like Mickey performing on the ACMs.
Yes. Oh,
I'm so excited. Like, what a overdue but beautiful historic moment. Like, not to put so much pressure on her or whatever, but it's a big,
don't mess up.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you know she won't, but what a big deal. Like, I don't know. I get
And
goosebumps
what
thinking
she's
about
singing.
it. I know. And she's getting
Like,
pregnant doing
you're
it.
singing,
I'm like,
you're singing something of purpose in this moment. I text her and I was like, you better let them hear you. Like
I know.
Like they are gonna hear you, and no matter how much you think you have left to do, own this moment. Own this moment because this is big.
That is such a thing to say to all of us. It's so easy to focus on what you feel like you haven't accomplished yet, and I'm not where I want to be, and I don't, look how I want to look. I don't have the things I want to have, and it can keep you from, really being in the moment. I'll like separate from my body almost for a little bit, just like with so much worry, and it's like, oh my gosh, my sister says this to me all the time, and she's just like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you're this version of yourself, and like enjoy this version of yourself. And it's just so, it sounds really easy, but it's not all the time. It's really important to remind yourself, and I think that's so good you say that to Mickey, because as artists, I feel like people are like, oh, it's going to be so great, and there are so many incredible things that come with being an artist, as you know, and you feel very privileged in some ways, and then you just feel not good enough in other ways. And
because you're constantly compared. Like, it's just the nature of the beast. And when I talk to Mickey, because we talk about race, we talk about a lot of things that are heavy and hard, but then I'm like, because we talk about so much hard stuff, we have to talk about the good stuff in it.
I know.
Because, like, there are celebrations amidst that. Like,
keep you going.
It wouldn't happen. I'm like, look at how many people now can look and be like, I have the opportunity to sing at the ACMs.
Oh my God.
Because they see you singing at the ACMs.
Thinking of all the little girls that are going to watch and be like, that could be me now.
Yes.
It's just, I'm going to cry so hard.
Because even I, like, when I watched Kamala accept the vice president nomination, I woke up my niece and I had her stand there, and I took a picture of her, and I was like, Ruby, this is a mixed woman from immigrant parents from the Bay Area, from these streets, that has the potential to be in the White House.
Right.
Your potential is unlimited.
And whether or not, that thing
whether you agree with her politics
exactly
or not,
is a moment.
To come from that is unheard of.
Yeah.
It is unheard of to be able to do that, and now it's heard of. Like, I would have never imagined that. I would have never dreamed that big for myself.
And, like, maybe she'll even, like, almost take it for granted. You know what I mean? Like, when she's bigger, she'll be like,
that was always that way.
Duh. Yeah. Oh, my God. So I feel like we're talking about the positive stuff, but the other day you were low point. And I think it's so important to talk about that, like, because all of us are hitting that at different times. And especially for you, like, as a Black woman, like, how do you make sure you take care of yourself? Like, how do you not just sink into it sometimes,
The other day was really hard. I had a really hard week. Me and Mickey and me and John and a lot of my, like, Howard University crew had been texting, and then Chadwick Boseman died. And I just felt so crushed at the weight of that. And I'd only met him once and things like that, but I was like, this is a week of people dying and so much blatant racism. I'm like, and people are combating stuff that is so clear. And I'm like, and what I'm doing, making a difference, is talking about it, going to fix anything. And I purposely, like, I sent you a text, I sent Sarah a text, I sent a few people some messages, because I like people to know where my energy's at, because I think that we have the power to switch people's energy. And then I was like, I'm going to go for a drive, and I'm going to purposely not be on here, because this weight is too heavy to even to even speak. Like I tried to FaceTime John, and he texts back. He's like, it's not even a talking day. I'm like, it's not.
Yeah.
And I felt that across the board. Like none of my Black friends talked.
Yeah.
Like, none of us. Like we were just heavy. And I was like, I just need silence. Mm-hmm. So I had an immense amount of silence, and I kind of cut everybody off, and I came back renewed the next day. Like, oh, yeah. I do this because I want one person not to carry the load that like a Chadwick Boseman had to carry. Like when you think about somebody who has cancer, who keeps doing roles that impact and show Black Americans as heroes, because you're playing their heroes. So my favorite role for him is not Black Panther, though I love Black Panther. It's Marshall, when he played Thurgood Marshall, because I just love that story. But he kept doing these roles to show respectable Black men. And I was like, oh, I hope that my kids see so many people playing these roles, and it's not left to one person to play like all the Black men that are heroes. Like
I feel like
I was heavy, but I had to shut off, and that is very rare for me. I'm a very much a in your face. If you ever look at my stories, there's like 100 of them a day. I'm just very in your face, and I was silent for like 24 hours.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the social media thing is just. It's amazing how much information gets shared, and also it can just be just way too much. Like
I was like, I don't want to see another person dying. I don't need to see the video. I don't need to see. I was personally shocked by how many people weren't appalled that somebody with a gun walked by police and didn't even get talked to. Like, I was just like, I'm not saying who's right or who's wrong and who's innocent, but I'm like, if somebody has a gun and people are saying that he shot somebody, like, wouldn't you want to like ask him if he shot some people? I was just like, what?
I know.
Like, there's a lot of. And I felt very disappointed, and I text Mickey, and I was like, I have hope, and she's like, I don't know if I have hope, and I was like, I know. And that was like, I was like, no, you need to have hope because you're like my hope. Like we need to have hope together.
And that's that thing of like taking care of each other, and like I think
hi
Becky Gardenhire says this, but like when you're trying to like boil the ocean basically, so it's just not gonna happen all at once, and like it just is gonna take a while, and obviously it's been going on for a very, very long time. I think there's also this kind of like, I know a few people have kind of been worried about like fatigue in people that this is new for. So like white people, you know, like, oh, are they gonna get tired of hearing about this? And should we soften our message because we don't want to lose their attention, you know, or like kind of like like it's in the sort of in the name of cooperation, but really just you end up tone policing yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is, and I feel like everyone's going to get overwhelmed and fatigued, but that's the nature of just like,
and it's okay to be fatigued. Like I gave myself grace. I was like, this is hard and this is heavy, and I'm owning it, which means I'm fully present in that heaviness daily. And that I have to get used to not compartmentalizing it so much. Like it's just part of me, and I've
it's hard not to compartmentalize. I know what you mean.
I'm just like, I'm not ashamed that I was sad and mad and hurt and hopeful, like all these things at once. I sat down and I wrote a song, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna release this song about it, and which I'm releasing I think next month. But
my God, so like, heavy to write about, but so good for you.
Heavy, but I was like, this is how I have to let it out about how disappointed I am. But I'm also happy. Like I'm also realizing that I am walking around the streets after dark out here, and I don't live in a sundown city. Like Like I can be out after dark and not be
Yeah.
murdered. Like there are things that have happened that are better than
Right.
30, 40 years ago. Like
Right.
I can be out in public. Like my parents wouldn't have a problem being married now and
Right.
white and black. Like Mickey can perform on an award show for country music. Like things can happen. But then I go back and I get disappointed when I get text messages. I sent a mass text message out to some friends because Lady A, the blues singer, is going to do a talk with me in a few weeks.
Oh,
and
amazing.
I was so excited. I was like, yes, I want her to tell her story and I want to talk about it because I think that conversation, not necessarily taking sides, but it shows privilege in a very black and white way to me, in my viewpoint. And I had some songwriter friends write to me, oh, that's bold. That's bold. And I was like, oh,
why is
you
that
guys
bold?
are already
Conversation
in a
with
black
somebody.
square. Like, are you guys already done with the race part? Because I thought you guys like had my back, and they weren't doing it offensively. Like I don't think they realized they were being offensive. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, it's bold. Like, should I not do it? And I started questioning, like,
No.
do I not? Do I like? Is this too much? Like, is this my career? And then I was like, no. Hands back.
Talking with someone,
they are not ready.
Yeah.
And that's where I guess I get worried about especially our country music community, that they already are fatigued. Like they already are like the moment passed. I don't think everybody, but I wish it was more on the frontal lobe. But I guess it's hard to be there consistently.
I think there's a lot of learning that's going on, and I do have to say, just because I'm on this kick today, apparently, but like with the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force at the ACNs, there's obviously having a diversity and inclusion task force is not the solution and all be all of everything. There's issues, there's inherent problems, there's all kinds of stuff in it, but there's a group of people that show up ready to learn, wanting to be better, and wanting to make the ACMs better and make their own spaces better.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like I'll get emails relevant to the experience of different kinds of people in the music space, you know, like what is this like for people of different skin colors and stuff. And I'll get sort of articles and ideas and surveys that are happening from the CEO of the ACMs. Did you see this? You know, and this is not saying a blanket statement of everything's done and the ACMs are perfect. They are not perfect. None of us are perfect. We're all working on this. Yeah. But I've never seen that happen before. Yeah. So I feel like there is this bubbling up of a lot of people that really do care and really do, and maybe they're not expressing it right yet, and they're not doing it right yet, and we're all, I think, still figuring out how to talk to each other, which is why I think it's so amazing that you do this, because it definitely, you know, there are times where I felt so, like it was so obvious to say something on Twitter, and I felt like it was very cut and dry, and it just, some people got it, and some people were, it was too much, and they were upset, and they turned the other way, and it's like,
and you want it. And you've spoken about that too, like how you don't want to, especially I think you have the ability to bring people into the conversation that aren't, like sometimes I'm very blunt and very, like my message is very forceful. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have softened that. Like that's not, somebody's not hearing that. But I think that you have this gift of people hear it. People hear what you are saying. And you don't pick and choose. I don't want to minimize it, but you know when to like push a little harder and when to like back off. And I appreciate that. Like I appreciate that as somebody I consider an ally, a co-conspirator, whatever people want to call it, a friend. I appreciate that you take your time with people and allow them to learn. Because sometimes I feel like I'm like, oh, you don't know, well, then you're done. I'm
well,
trying not to
sometimes
be
I
like
feel that
and
way too. But I do
I'm
think
better than some of my
conversations,
friends.
yeah, I do think some conversations tend to go better.
Yeah.
Like actual conversations tend to go better, obviously, than just like a text or a post or whatever. I just feel like when you're really trying to like get on the same page, which that's something that I feel really like deep down, so many of us just want like the best for each other, like really, like we really do. We just don't agree on how to do it. And some of us really don't see each other's experiences, so that's the problem. We can't even,
well, we're not taught empathy. Like, what I love about this next generation of kids that are being born now and are toddlers now is that I do believe they're going to be a far more empathetic group of humans because of going through pandemics and just the social change and all the stuff that they're witnessing and having to deal with and interact with people. And I think empathy is such an important tool to growth and to understanding that we are different, but we are supposed to be different. Like, that is what is awesome about us, and it shouldn't be held back. I was talking to my friend Natasha about colorism in a chat the other day, and we were discussing how colonialism like created colorism, and like light skin versus dark skin, and light skin's better because you're closer to white and you could be in the house if you were a slave and all of these things. But I was like, the more that we as Black women stand by that, we are just feeding into the narrative. It's time to just change the narrative. And I think that's with everything. The more we feed into the narrative that this is better than this, instead of saying, you know what? You're different. Like, this is your talent. This is your talent. Oh, that's your curly hair. Oh, I have straight hair. Or I'm curvy. You're not. Like, the more we're just accepting, the better we would be. And to realize, like, I don't want you to die. Well, I don't want you to die. Well, awesome.
Yeah.
How do we help each other not die? Like
that, that question of like, too, just like, oh, do you date Black women? You know, as if it's like a choice or a preference, as opposed to just like, because nobody asks, oh, do you date white women? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, as a preference, it's just like it kind of, I honestly, the colorism aspect of it, like I didn't really understand that until I went to, when I was in Nepal. I remember being at one of the like little stands that was like a store, and they had like skin whitening lotion. Yes. And I was like, what? Like, it just had no clue, you know, because we're on the, what, you know, us white people do is we get our fake tans, right? Exactly. You know, to go in the opposite direction. And it started to be like, oh yeah, this is, it goes much deeper than that, obviously, but it just was like a first.
And it goes in other cultures. Other cultures do it. That lighter skin is thought to bring more prosperity, and you are a better person. And it's so, first of all, not true. Not true. And I always have gotten questions like, oh, you're dating a white guy? Oh, you're dating a dark skinned guy? And my ex would always, his friends would be like, oh, you got a good light skinned girl, like about me. And I'd be like, so you're going to have some good hair on your kids. And I'm like, even this conversation amongst us who are all Black is not helping us move along. It's not like, why are we discussing good hair? Like, our hair's fine. If my kid's hair is not the same as mine, who cares? I'm not having a kid so that they can have good hair. Like, let's expand our conversations even amongst each other. And me and my friend group have been very, very insistent since the pandemic started about facing the colorism that we naturally talk about in our group and fighting it. It's like when somebody says something like that, like casually, because they don't even think about it, we call them out on it, and none of us are offended because we're in a safe space and we've discussed it. Yeah. But even I like go, I'm getting a little too light or something like that. Like, I get called out, like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And it's brought us in our little bubble of Howard folks closer, because we're realizing how we just talk to one another, and subconsciously we're like putting each other down, even though we're all friends. Like,
there's so much, and that's the thing, is like being open enough, you know, to have those, because once you come at each other like with just like, hey, let's learn and be better, because I feel like I'm always like, I'm gonna have these blind spots and I'm just gonna let everybody down. Like, it's gonna and I get worried and sad about that, and it's like, then I'll get reminded that it's like, that's what it is. That's what your whole life is you're gonna mess up and just keep going, you know? And you
that's where you learn.
Yeah. And you can't really be held back by and to comment on the curly thing, I remember I did a hair spot or something, like hair ad for curly hair, and they were saying that an overwhelming majority of girls that have curly hair do not like their hair. They don't think it's beautiful. And it's just so sad. Like, you know, like, and that's us telling them that. No little kid comes out and is like, ugh, my hair's ugly. Like, when they're first born, you know, they're just like, she doesn't care what kind of hair she has.
I used to hate my hair. I used to hate having curly hair. I'd be like, and everybody loved it. And I was like, this is horrible.
Oh, yeah. I'd straighten it. And then by like lunchtime, it would like be all like, you know,
it'd be like
kinky and weird and embarrassing. You're like, no.
And then I was a swimmer, so like my hair chemically, took a lot of chemicals, and then I would swim, so chlorine. So I had like a mushroom cut with like blonde tips. It was the pictures. I'm like, my sister always brings it up. She's like, remember when you had like blonde tips? I'm like, it wasn't purposeful. I was trying to be cool. And then Brandy came on the scene. I was like, I'll just get braids. And I started embracing it, but it really wasn't until my 20s that I really fell in love with my curls. And
you have to learn how to do it.
I wear my hair straight.
Yeah, and that's that thing. The like, if you don't have people around you, or you don't have like, you know, people to look up to that have the hairstyle, and you don't see the products or how to do it, and people are always asking like, how do you do your hair? I have a kid with curly hair. How can I help her do her hair? And it's just like, I mean, depending on the type of curl you have, obviously it's different. Is there a baby?
There's a baby. She woke up. Come on out, Rue. There's another baby out here. Thank you, sis.
Hi, babies. Hi, babies.
You guys are like the same age.
Yeah, right? Didn't Ruby turn 8 months?
Yeah, she just turned 8 months. She was born on New Year's Eve. So they're like,
oh, yeah, they're like 2 weeks apart, basically.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Fun. You guys can be friends.
Hi.
She has straight hair. Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
they're so happy. No, but I never had somebody that understood. My mom brushed out my hair. My mom is white, and she thought my hair was nice and fluffy, so she kept it short, but she would brush it so it was really soft, but really big. So I didn't know what curls were supposed to be like. I didn't even know what my pattern of curls was.
My mom would blow dry hers out, and she got teased for having curly hair, so she taught us really young how to blow dry our hair out, because she was like, I don't want you to get teased, you know? But that kind of passes on a whole other thing where you're like, secretly you think no one's going to want to see the curly hair, you know?
Well, yeah. And my sister's Korean, so she had like straight, long, perfect hair put in a ponytail, and I'm like, what I got? Like,
I know.
We're just going to listen. There you go. There you go. Be free in your bamboo. Be free.
Oh.
Be free. In your chakra leggings. So we're learning about chakras today.
Cute.
That's what we do in Auntie Time.
That's right.
Chakras and astrology.
Oh, Bay Area.
Oh, Bay Area.
I miss it.
So, like now, I've had meetings even in Nashville and even in LA. When I toured background, I had to wear wigs because they wanted my hair straight.
Wow.
When I was a background singer, so I wore a black bob most of the time.
And
I was like, I'm not going to permanently straighten my hair.
Oh,
and nobody's weaving this hair up. There's so much of it. It's like there's so much.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a lot.
So did they openly tell you, they said you have to have straight hair for this?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They said, we want your hair straight. Like, you are dark, but we want you to be ethnically ambiguous, and we want it to be straight. It can't be longer than your shoulders. And I was like,
we want you to be ethnically ambiguous.
Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, that's what I was hired for.
Oh,
that's what I hired for. And so, and I took it. I think now I would have been like, no, I'm going to wear my hair like this. And if you don't want me, it's okay. But I'm okay with saying no now.
Yeah.
And that took me being in a meeting where somebody said, if you wore your hair straight, you're prettier, and you'll be able to be, you'll get better play for radio. When I was trying to do country full, like as an artist completely, but like if your hair's straight, it makes more sense. Like, cause you're light, like curly, they know that you're not white. And I was like, and they said this to me in a meeting to my face. I was like, well, what makes me unique is my curls. If I straighten my hair, I'm just like everybody else. Like I'm trying to fit a box that why not be me? I have big curly hair. I think it works with my personality, the straight hair. And I'm like, and then I can't sweat on stage because it curls. My hair's curly.
Exactly.
I was like, like, I'm like, you guys know that Beyonce wears a wig, right? Like,
I know.
Like I'm like,
no, I think some people don't know that.
She wears a wig.
Magical.
Sweat. I mean, she has beautiful hair underneath. But I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to wear a wig every day.
Yeah.
And to each their own.
And it's so expensive. Like, I mean, there's a lot.
It's so expensive, and I already spend enough on my hair products alone.
Right.
I mean,
I'm like sitting here, like
thankful.
Yeah.
Like
that you can get it. I mean, like, having someone. I saw someone type in here the fact that you have to have the right products for your hair, and you have to figure that out, and like be able to afford it, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a whole other.
Well, I think that we don't. When we think about like curly hair, and we think about Black women in their hair, first of all, hair is so important. And I want to say there's a big act going on right now. Tennessee has not passed it yet. It's called the Crown Act. And it's for hair discrimination because a lot of people have been fired for wearing their hair in braids or curly, like natural.
Yeah, or sent home
not
from
professional.
School.
So I'll put a link in the thing if you want to read more about the Crown Act. It's very important that I think it's sad that we have legislation that says you can't fire somebody because they have braids in. But I also am like, well, maybe we need that so that people can normalize the fact that we all have different hair.
Yeah.
And I personally use Black-owned products, but I have to order mine. Like, there's very few stores that carry the products that I use. I ordered them before because I used to use Diva Curl, which I love.
Right. Me too.
I love it. And I still use a little bit, but mostly I use Tracy Ellis Ross because I just love her hair.
I know. I want to get hers because it looks so good. You will
love it. It is. It's a gem. It is It's a good like day-to-day thing. So just so people know, if you're interested in hair, some pattern beauty. It's a good line, and it's Black-owned. So not that she needs more money because she's Diana Ross, but she disseminates it to Black hair care companies, like smaller companies. She helps out. So right, Ruby does not use that. I know, that's your friend. That's your friend.
Hi.
I guess what I would say, like in closing and like winding down, is where do you think? How do I put this? Like the country community and the music community as a whole. We are like having diversity committees. Like award shows are obviously being more broad with realizing there's more talent out there that should be on stage. Like Mickey, who should have been on stage 5 years ago. But I'm biased because that's my girl. But where do you think we're going to continue to see this change, or do you think we're going to get burnt out? Like, do you think this is a wave, or do you think that the country community is going to start opening up? And I know it's not going to be like sudden because culture takes time to shift.
I think Well, I won't get burned out.
Yeah.
And I'll be here for a while.
Yes.
So, yeah, you can count on that. And I think there's a lot of people, a lot of us are, and by us I mean white people, are learning.
Yeah.
And I do think sometimes it feels very obvious when someone's missing and when voices aren't there. But for those rooms, it's been like so normalized to look a certain way that people, they honestly, because they don't see it, they miss it. Yeah. And so I think we're getting there to make sure people get in the right rooms.
Yeah.
In a lot of the decision-making rooms, we're not there yet, but we're going to have to just keep after it. And once you have the right people around, then it starts to look and feel like, you know, the best of everyone, not just the best of a small group. You get like, you know, the real talent that you want on stage and the real talent that you want on the radio. And
exactly. And it's not based on your race. It's based on talent.
Yes, 100%.
Thanks for combing my
but
hair,
that's
Ruby.
That's the thing with I like the Rooney Rule stuff, where it's not about your choosing like affirmative action where you have to have a quota of certain people, but you do need to have a diverse slate that you pick from. So if you're going to hire for a job, the candidates you are considering need to be a diverse set of candidates.
Yeah.
And then you choose the best person for the job. And none of this is foolproof. None of this is 100% right. There's no 100% right, by the way.
No.
We're human beings and we just got to do as best as we can by each other. But like, that's a much better way currently. That's the best I know right now of a good way to look at it, of just trying to make sure you have a good mix of people in decision-making spaces and in membership spaces. And that's going to get you much better results than, it's really interesting because if you're trying to change things from like an organizational standpoint, sometimes you're like, oh, we've got a great group of kids coming up that are all like, we've got Mickey right now, so things are good. But you need to have it in.
I feel you, girl. I feel you.
You need to have it in the system so that when Mickey isn't here, you still have room and avenues for the next people.
And you don't want Mickey to have to hold all the weight.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I also I was really impressed with the Recording Academy and how their new membership class was diverse.
Yeah.
And women, and like when they released the stats and a few of my friends got invited, and I was like, yes.
Yay.
I'm so glad that you guys are in it. They're my LA crew, but I was like, this is important because now you can vote and now you can put the music that you listen to and let people know, because that's how people find things out. And I've appreciated that you've given like a voice to like John Tucker and shared space with him, which has allowed other people to see him as an artist and what he's about, that they might not see him if you didn't use your platform to showcase the talent that's there. It's not saying you're doing a favor, but you're like, there's talent. There's talent.
Oh my God. There is, and that's something that even with I saw I want to say it's Live Nation too, but there's definitely people saying, you know, putting together, I don't know how everyone feels about this, but putting together resources for people that need, so cute. Let's say you think, I don't know anyone, because you're not, you know, a lot of these networks are, you know, exclusive and kind of like done by race, to be honest. Like, and so if you don't know anyone, here's who you can talk to, and here's some resources of people you can reach out to that are talented, and like just trying to get everybody connected enough, even if it's just in an Excel spreadsheet. Just go check out this, because the people that are making really great lineups, like Stacy over at Stagecoach, she spends time as a booker making sure she's looking up new talent that looks diverse, because she wants to find all kinds of people, and she's got to keep, you know, she'll tell you she's got to keep being better and better and better, but she's putting in that effort. She's not just saying whoever gets served up to me or whoever is someone I already know, you know. So it takes extra effort to sort of connect the dots, but it's worth it because then she puts on a great show.
That gives me so much hope.
There are good things, but it's okay to be frustrated with the things that aren't there yet.
I'm in a much better place than I was last week. Last week was too much. Yeah. But you know what? Some weeks are too much in everyday life, and I'm just like, okay. But this gives me hope as a songwriter, as a performer. I always say I'm a songwriter. I talk about race and equality, but I do write songs and I do sing and I do those things, and those are what I want everybody to have access to. I want everybody to know the amount of talent that's out there, and I want the talent to rise, not based on race. Right. But I think we have to focus on race so that you can open the door. So eventually it can just be like, this is the most talented person for the job. This is the most talented session player. Like, and it's not like just because they're all friends and you're friends with people that look like you, you become friends with people that don't look like you, then it grows. Yeah, so it always starts small.
And just to give more credit too, because I'm a CMA member, and I spoke to, they have a diversity focused group, and I spoke to them and some of the awards people, because one of the latest iterations of regulations for being nominated for one of their awards, I had some questions about it. It to me wouldn't have been the way I would have gone about it to increase diversity, but it was really nice talking to them on the phone, because they were coming at it trying to get there. They actually said what they were trying to do was increase the number of women and people of color that they were going to get to the end space. And they were doing it by XYZ. And they said, you know, we're going to see how this one works. And then next year we get to tweak it again and keep getting better. And I felt like that was such a nice thing to hear. You know, we're not going to get it right the first time.
But they're acknowledging that they
are trying. And that's something, and that we've talked about this too before, but anyone in any space, if you just really encourage you, like if you have questions about how something's done and you want to just call and ask people and just say, are you thinking about this, and how can I help, or can I help you think about it in a different way? And people have been really receptive in country music, which I've been really, I feel really encouraged by that.
Well, what's been nice for me in country music is that a lot of people, the thing that shocked me, and I'm glad it shocked me because it made me see different things, is a lot of people that I didn't think would comment or watch a video that I'm doing, like these or something, has like sent me a private message and been like, thanks, I didn't see things that way.
Oh,
I had somebody that wrote and was like, oh, I like that you discussed colorism. Like, I didn't even know what colorism was. I didn't know colorism was a thing. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, there's no textbook that says colorism. Like, there's nobody's like, the definition of colorism is, quote unquote, it's something we learn, right? And so I'm happy for that, because there are artists that I know, and they haven't publicly put things out, but I see them privately messaging me, and I'm like, I don't even know you, but I know that you're looking for content because you had to have looked to find this.
Yeah.
And then you watched it. So if you are openly, actively searching for content to grow, then I'm down. Like, I'm cool. Like, that's all you can ask.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask. Right, bro? I know.
Well, I think I better get this babe to her nap.
Yeah,
this one doing something.
This one is trying to crawl off the outside couch. So she just started crawling. So.
Aww.
But I want to say thank you, and thank you.
Bye, Stephanie.
Yeah. Hi. Say hello. Ruby, say hi. That's your friend. That's your thing. I know. Your grandparents are in Louisville, so you can see her when so her dad's from Louisville, Kentucky. So,
oh yeah.
So, well, I love you, and I appreciate this has made me smile today, and
Yay, good.
and seeing you two has made me smile, and I hope. And thank you everybody who's had patience with us, because we're just working with kids. This is life.
That's right.
This is life. But I love you. Go give her a settle.
Thank you so much for hosting these. I love that this exists. That space exists.
Thank you for always taking the time to be a part. In the midst of all of it. Thanks for brushing my hair, Ruby. I appreciate it. So, all right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.